A second bill that I have is a very comprehensive reform of ethics in the General Assembly. One piece of legislation creates a study to determine whether or not Virginia, like 43 other states, should have an independent ethics commission. Virginia currently has a separate ethics commission for the House of Delegates and a separate one for the Senate. There are either legislators or former legislators involved in that process. So this study would look to create a completely independent, unified ethics commission. I'll be surprised if my friends in the House of Delegates embrace that with great affection. The other bill that I have actually goes ahead and creates a new ethics commission at this time. There are a lot of reform measures in that, including public hearings so that the public is aware of what is going on. It includes a new composition of the commission itself, including a retired judge and no sitting or former legislators. So I've been working with Senator Ralph Northam from Norfolk on that, and that bill is working its way through the process. So those are a couple that I'm very proud of, and I hope will see the light of the day at the end of March.
Now, you're likely to be working long hours this weekend, I take it, because this is crossover week. This is crossover day, but in terms of the budget, that bill does not have to cross over until, what, Sunday midnight?
That's correct. What you pointed out today is crossover day, so that probably explains my very cross disposition this morning. We've already been working some very long, hard hours. I was commenting to my seatmate yesterday about noon. He said, "Tommy, you're looking a little weary already." And he said, "What time did you get up today?" And I said, "The same time I've been getting up every day since I've been here, 4 a.m. I try to get up very early in the morning, and it's the only quiet time that I have. And I take that time from about 4 to 7 to read things where I can concentrate on it without interruption in the privacy of my own room. As to the budget, the deadline for the budget is midnight Sunday. On Sunday afternoon at some appropriate hour, both the House of Delegates Appropriations Committee will convene and the Senate Finance Committee will convene separately. Each body will present its own budget for general consideration. And then I think the real fireworks and discussions and jockeying for position will start.
So let's talk a little bit more about the budget in detail, because we understand that everything's on the table, including, for example, K through 12. We've heard talk of less teachers, larger classrooms, a formula to cap the number of support staff, for example, in the classroom. Do you see those things being part of the mix?
Well, I've heard both from the governor's office and from the House of Delegates and from the Senate that everything is on the table. While that sounds like a very trite expression in the context of the 2010 session of the General Assembly, it's fairly revealing. I am a tireless advocate of public education. Both myself and every member of my entire family is a product of public education, both K through 12 in Virginia and higher education. I have a daughter that is a kindergarten teacher in the Williamsburg-James City County school system. My wife is a former teacher, so I am absolutely committed to public education. Traditionally, in the General Assembly, even in the most difficult of financial times, we have protected K through 12 from any significant cuts. I think a lot of that is because many of us consider education the highest priority in the delivery of government services. It is a service that is the key to individuals' future lives. It is a service that cuts across every ethnic, social, economic barrier that you can imagine. Our Constitution provides that we in the General Assembly have a responsibility to provide a quality public education. That's the backdrop on it. K through 12 is on the table for consideration of additional cuts. We have a $2.2 billion gap in our budget right now. And I was an English history major in college, so maybe I don't understand accounting, but I do know there's only two sides to that ledger. There's income and there's expenses. I think this governor has made it very clear that he is not going to sign any budget that has new tax increases. There have been some who, and particularly some of my very good Democratic friends, who think the only way that we can balance this budget is to increase taxes. I think that there are some Democrats and many Republicans who think this is just not the time to be increasing taxes and putting additional financial burdens on the back of Virginians during the most challenging economic times in our modern history. If you're not going to raise revenues, you only got one side of the ledger that you can go to, and that's cutting expenses. We're not looking for $1 million to cut, Woody. We're not looking for $10 million. We're looking for hundreds of millions of dollars to cut. Consequently, you can't start just nicking the edges with $100,000 here and $1 million there. You are, out of necessity, driven to major programs that have very significant budgets. As a result of that, the General Assembly has no choice. They must look at public education. They must look at public safety. They must look at mental health, because those are the areas where most of the money is spent, and because that's where the largest budgets are, that's where you have the ability, painful as it will be, to cut. So public education is certainly going to be on the table. There are no sacred cows out there that are going to be protected in 2010. Every program, every agency, every area of state government is on the cutting block.
So obviously the same holds true for our community colleges, even though in these tough times they have